For May the 3rd, 2024, we talk about another crab's treasure, Yolk Heroes, a Long Tamago, pools, and much more. Welcome to level 498. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Moxie.
I'm Jala.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Welcome back, Jala.
Hi, I'm back.
Yeah.
Woo.
Thanks for filling in while Dennis is at a Death Cab for Cutie concert.
Party
Get
and
real
card.
nervous when the first word is death. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. How's it going?
Well, I wanted to say thanks to all the folks who participated in the charity fundraiser that folks over in my little server / some of Duckfeed / people from various places came together to do on behalf of Chris or Vertigo to Hell. And we raised over $1,800 for SAVE, suicide awareness, voices of education. And one of the folks in my community, Matthew, who is one of the hosts of Monster Dare Monster, happens to also be a blacksmith. And because Chris really loved Planescape Torment, he made the rune blade, which was one of the weapons from that game, and then put the runes as V2H, but like they look like runes, on the blade itself. And so like that was really cool. So
That was super fun to watch. That portion of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that got finished up and then raffled away to folks who donated. And so, the donations are still open for the rest of this week, although like by the time this drops, rather, it'll only be like a couple more days. But there will still be a couple of days to donate if you did not for the raffle prize, just to donate. So,
yeah. Oh, it's a good cause anyway. I didn't see what the final total was. That's amazing.
Yeah. Folks really came and showed up for that. We were expecting, well, maybe we'll do $500, something like that.
Yeah.
And we ended up smashing that and doing quite a bit more than that. So over 3 times. So thanks to everybody for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is real cool.
That's about the only thing worth noting.
All right. Let's see, Moxie, how are you? What's going on?
I'm doing pretty good. Went to a concert this past weekend. So that was really sweet. It was a band called Alice.
Okay.
I think they're out of LA, but kind of a gothy. I don't know. I honestly, the subgenres of goth mystify me. But yeah, that was a good time. The only kind of weird thing about it is that it ended up the show didn't start till 10 o'clock, and then we didn't get home till like 4 a.m.
Oh, no. Oh, so you traveled out of town for it.
It was down in Birmingham, so like not super out of town, but not out of town. You know what I mean?
That's a lot. 4 a.m. is a bit much. Yeah. Huh. Well,
so
at least it was a good show.
But, yeah, it was a excellent show. I had a great time.
Were you rested up for Goth Prom?
Yes, I was. So that was the other thing is we had Goth Prom, and wow, that. So most of we have like a goth night, like kind of DJ dance party thing once a month, and normally we'll have like 10 to 12 people, something like that. This time we had like 75.
Nice.
had someone there, professional photographer, taking photos, had a DJ come in. I forget if he was maybe from Atlanta or something like that. A second DJ did a maypole, which the every prom has to have a theme. Because proms be corny. And so this one was themed off of the was it like the 9 realms in like Norse mythology?
Okay.
And so like had a maypole and someone dressed up, themed off of each of the ones and stuff like that, and then some belly dancing and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it was a really really amazing time. Just a great group of people, and yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yay!
That sounds dope.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I'm glad it panned out. It sounded cool when you described it last week, but I just wanted to see, hopefully there wasn't a fire or something. I don't know why I assumed that would happen.
Carrie style. Was there a goth prom king and queen?
No, we decided that would not be sufficiently egalitarian.
Okay.
Also, we couldn't figure out what the non-binary equivalent of a king and queen was.
Yeah. Monarch, regent, something like that. I don't know. Huh. It's best just to be rid of it. Down with monarchy.
Exactly. If you don't do that, then you have to have the prom guillotine, and I mean, no one wants that.
I mean, that just becomes a far too long of an event because you have to go through all the stages. Yeah, I think it's better just to jump right to like the duly elected prom council. Awesome. Ben, how about you?
I've been doing pretty good. I've had a friend from Austin in town over the weekend, so I've been doing a lot of hosting. I got to see a sweet movie over the weekend. Challengers is really good.
Oh yeah, the Zendaya threesome movie.
Yep, that's how it was billed. It's
a Zendaya
actress.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, the movie was really well written, really well directed. So yeah, highly recommend. And then I went to a baseball game last night that was called Bark at the Park. And it was where you can take your dogs and watch the game. And so I went with my partner and her dad's dog. And then it was really cool because the Mariners ended up winning in the 9th inning, off a home run. And so the fans are going crazy. And so then the dogs start going crazy and like barking and howling and stuff. And so that was a lot of fun. And then after the game, you get to walk the dogs on the field and around the bases. And so it just turns into a parade of dogs, like going over the baseball field. So a lot of fun. Yeah, that's all I got.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't. That just sounds like a good old fashioned good time. Dogs and baseball. Why not? Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the problem would be the dogs running out on the field to fetch the baseballs.
They keep them pretty well quarantined in a corner of the stadium for the majority of the game in like the upper decks.
I would imagine, yeah, which I'm sure calms them down. Being restricted from going to a place. Oh gosh, yeah. I really don't have anything since last week. It's just been a bunch of being. So I'm just going to just going to advance beyond.
You just keep on being.
I'll try. I mean, if I can help it. Yeah. So I think we should talk about games, and to do that, we need to do a regular kind of show. And we can do that by doing the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And we can get started with
the grind.
The grind, where we talk about the things we have been doing over the past period of time or so. Jala, you've been away the longest, so I will throw it to you.
Y'all. Okay,
Yeah?
so you know how I was playing Shining Force 3 the last time I was on here, and I did Shining Force 3 Scenario 1. I finished it. Yay! Great. I still have 2 Shining Force 3 Scenario 2 and Scenario 3 and the premium disc. Well, I booted up Scenario 2, and I started playing it, and then my Pro Action Replay died and ate all of my data. And so, because I was playing on my original hardware with my, game disc and all that fun
Oh,
stuff.
no.
And so, yeah, it died. And yes, I can go buy another Pro Action Replay, but apparently it's a thing that happens specifically with Shining Force 3. And it never happened to me all the other times I played this game until now when I'm trying to play it for a show and it ate my data. All of it.
Fun.
So, as a result, I am trying to get the English version of the ROM, because like people translated it and they have a ROM for it that you can download for, like on the website and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get that working. I have it. I have the virtual drive. I have the, like the actual emulator and all of that stuff, but something's not working right. And I just have not had time or energy or wherewithal to, like, every time I look at it, I just,
it's terrible.
I don't want to look at it. And I'm sure it's something stupid, like I'm not booting it up in the virtual drive the right way or something like that. I'm sure that's what it is.
There's some BIOS thing.
Yeah, well, like I haven't fiddled with trying to emulate from a disc-based thing before. I've only ever done like retro gaming, like old NES and old Super NES and arcade cabinet type stuff where you just download the ROM, you have the emulator, and that's it. Like, you don't have to mess with any of the rest of this stuff. So I'm still in the middle of trying to figure that out. So the episode on that is going to be pushed back quite a while until I can get this sorted and actually get to playing it. So,
That stinks.
yeah, so I've been kind of tearing my hair out a little bit about that. Hopefully I can get that to function sometime soon. Yeah. But Shining Force 3 Scenario 1 continues to be a fantastic game. It's still one of my favorite games. I still love it so much. And it actually, because I checked the timeline on this, and I don't remember if I ever mentioned this the last time I was on, but it came out the same year as Final Fantasy Tactics, but it came out like several months before. So, like it was in the works and it was actually out a little bit before Tactics was around. So like it would have been in development concurrently or thereabouts with that. So, just for anybody who happens to go look at the game and everything, just keep that in mind that it was at the same time, and they chose to do like their 3D graphics on the Sega Saturn rather than doing the pixel graphics, which they really should have done. But that's neither here nor there. Some people have a lot of nostalgia for that early 3D stuff. I'm not one of those folks. Yeah. So I think it looks ugly as hell. But for some reason they still have the hand drawn like facial animations and stuff like that for all of their little character portraits. It's just like the combat and everything where it's got the 3D. So yeah.
I mean, it's doing the same trick. I mean, a similar trick to what Tactics is doing. Animated sprites on 3D-ish backgrounds. Same thing as like Breath of Fire 3 or something. Yeah.
So I will say that when you start playing Shining Force 3, if someone were to be inspired to do so by listening to me talk about it and talking about how I'm going to have it on the show later, on my show, that is. So when you start it up, it seems like a pretty simple, straightforward plot. But as you keep going, everything starts getting really complicated and convoluted. There's some interesting battles. It's not as sophisticated as the kinds of unique battle situations that you would find in something like, say, for example, Fire Emblem Engage, which is a way, way older, or rather, way, way newer game. Like Shining Force 3 is old as hell. Yeah. But like, the fact that I'm even mentioning, hey, it's not quite like a Fire Emblem Engage, that means like it was still a pretty sophisticated game for its time period, especially. So, I am looking forward to talking about that game once I can get it to function. I have a lovely friend who is supposed to be helping me possibly like on a video chat, try to figure out what the hell's going on with the emulation as soon as I have 2 minutes that I can rub together. So
Yes.
we will see how that goes. Fingers crossed the next time I'm on, I am telling you about the English translated version of this game as I would be playing it, like the ROM at that point.
Well, I mean,
So.
best of luck getting that figured out. Like anything with disk or like just like non-standard emulation, and by non-standard I mean anything outside of the ones that you kind of listed as like, oh, you've done it before. Like it is super touch and go and kind of on a game by game basis. Obviously, like it's possible to get to work. I feel for the headache that you're going through.
Well, the good news is that the folks who did the actual translation patch and everything do have a Discord server. So if I need to, I can appear in the Discord server and go, I don't know how to get this to run. Can someone please help me? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I do have a possible another route to take if my friend is unable to assist me in this matter. So fingers crossed for all of that. So but Shining Force 3 continues to be a really fun freaking game. And, when I was playing it, I really was concerned that I would feel like, boy, it's rough to go back to an older game like this that doesn't have all the quality of life stuff that you have in a Fire Emblem, But that's not how I felt at all. It felt natural and easy to get back into, unlike when I went back to Shining Force and Shining Force 2. With Shining Force and Shining Force 2, when I was replaying those a bit back, I was really like, ooh, this is rough, I don't feel that way about Shining Force 3, though. And I don't know what the difference is because, like, so many of the aspects of the first two games are still consistent in the third game. So not sure. That might just be bias because I like that game so much, but I also really like all of Shining Force. So, like,
It might also be something where, like, I don't know, presentationally, like moving to the 3D, like, or sprite on 3D background or whatever, like that is still a little bit what a modern tactical RPG kind of looks and feels like,
Yeah.
Like I don't know, that coupled with the fact that tactical or strategy RPGs in my mind tend to age better because of the additional kind of like mechanical complexity to the battles and stuff. It's not necessarily the the random battles grinding kind of stuff, which some people find comforting, but it can get tiresome. IMO, like I think that those two things combined, I'm not surprised to hear you say that this one feels a little bit more graceful to dip back into.
Well, and that's probably also because you do have some leeway with things that you can change about your character. Like you can train up your Centaur Knight to use something other than a lance. You can have them use a lance, a halberd, or a spear. So you have a little bit of like, you can change how they train. And right at first, they're going to suck with it if it's something that they haven't been using. But then they start unlocking specials and then they kind of specialize in the new weapon. So, like it's to your advantage to keep them with one weapon once you get them on a weapon, because that's how they will unlock the stronger attacks and everything. But then too, there are the friendship levels and stuff the support levels basically that you get by pairing up your people in combat and having them follow up each other or back each other up or heal them or whatever, heal each other, that kind of thing. So it doesn't get to the point of Fire Emblem where then they be fucking. It's not that. It's not horny. It's just the support levels that you get in the combat. And then like those support levels can also go down if the person dies, then the support level that they have with everybody ends up lowering. So
I would imagine.
Yeah. So that's something that I don't believe is present in any kind of iteration of Fire Emblem, although I haven't played all of them. I do not believe they have a thing where the support level can vary and can go down.
I mean, if they die permanently, then...
Yeah, there you go. Right. So anyway, it's been fun to revisit. Hopefully I can continue to revisit it on the English translated version. I was just going to play my OG copy until I couldn't. So I just don't want to take that risk again and then, just have everything wipe again. And then I'm like, I do not have the time to do that.
The good news is also like emulators allow you to do cheats too.
Yeah.
So like you can get back up. Like, were you that far in scenario 2 when this happened?
I wasn't a whole heck of a lot far, I wasn't too far into it. Like I hadn't finished the first chapter yet, so that's like a few hours, but it's not like I was most of the way through the game when it died or anything.
Right.
So, and thankfully I finished scenario 1 when that happened. But the problem is that unfortunately,
is there a data import?
Well, the data import, yeah. So like the stuff you do in the first game translates over to stuff that, changes in the second game and then changes in the third game. So now that means that all the stuff that I did in the first game doesn't impact the replay I'm going to do now. So then that means that like I don't know what it's going to be like, and it's not going to be like really my playthrough,
God, that sucks.
So yeah, but I don't want to linger too long on that, but that's what I got going with that.
Empathize. This is Mass Effect.
Yeah. Oh God.
So I have been playing something else that is brand new and actually not even out yet as of the time we're recording, and it will be out. Actually, it'll be out past the 500th episode of this show. So, yeah, I got a free copy, a review copy of the game Yolk Heroes a Long Tamago. And that sense of humor is throughout. So if you enjoy that title, then you will probably enjoy what I'm about to tell you about.
I mean, I laughed. I want to double check that it means what I think it means. Tamago, like Japanese for egg, like Tamagotchi.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Cool.
So, it releases on May 20th. It is by 14 Hours Productions. This is a solo project from, and I quote, a very small dev who doesn't want to return to the AAA mines. So bear in mind that if you decide to pick up this game, it is to a good cause to keep someone out of the AAA mines. So bear that in mind. So anyway, I first came across Matthew M. Ritter when I was reading his comic because he was working on a pixel art comic called Nova Phase. And so like I followed him many, many, many years ago back when I was working on my comic. And many years later, he develops a game. And then, I ended up with a copy of it. So that's pretty cool. I asked him about it. He said it took him about 1.5 years to make it by himself. So that's like a real quick turnaround. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I love the aesthetic of this.
Yes, I'm about to dip into all that. So what is this game? This game is a mixture of a JRPG and a virtual pet with idle game mechanics, and it's meant to be a companion game that you fiddle with more so than beat it. Like you just have it open in a window somewhere while you're doing other stuff and then pop in and fiddle with it a little bit, that kind of thing. And the art style is directly inspired by Dragon Quest and early Game Boy titles, which if you look up the images for this, you will totally understand upon seeing it.
It's got that amazing, like, limited Game Boy Color color palette to it as well.
The sound design and the visuals are meant to mimic the Wonder Swan. So that's like a very specific kind of thing. There's a lot of different...
has to be the greatest game of a game system ever.
I think you're
forgetting. Sorry,
you're forgetting the FM Towns Marty, an actual name of a console.
That's pretty bad, actually.
So this is a very, very cute game. It's super nostalgic because at first I was like, I don't know, like JRPGs I'm down with. I don't know if I really want to invest in like a Tamagotchi like experience again, Yeah. But then like I booted it up and I'm like, no, this is actually really cute. And the menus are awesome. They offer you all kinds of control over how the game looks and plays. You can change the color palette. You can change a bunch of different stuff about whether you want your little critter, your little Yolk hero to do its thing while you are away from it and like when the game is off, because it will continue to do stuff when you turn off the game and then come back to it. You can opt in or out of that. So if you don't want it to do that and then just come back to see what's happening,
a dead egg.
yeah, that kind of thing. Then you have the control to turn that off. And you can also kind of tell it what you want it to do when you are away and it's idling. So you can make it prioritize, okay, well, you want to train this Yolk hero with strength or with whatever, you know? So I keep on talking about Yolk Heroes, but I haven't explained to you why it's a Yolk Hero. Why is it an egg? And why are you raising a hero? So basically, the premise is real simple. There is a fairy kingdom. The frog guys are coming, and the frog guys like to eat the fairies because they taste like candy. And so the fairies are like, please don't eat us. I mean, I understand why you want to eat us because we taste great and all, but no. And so the fairies have created these little yolks, these little fairy egg things, and those are the things that become your virtual pet. Basically, they are like, okay, we need to raise this, but we don't have the attention span or the inclination to raise it. So you are like the guardian spirit that they have created in order to nurse this Yolk hero up into a full-fledged hero so that you can go fight the Frog King and save the Fairy Kingdom. So
I had a very different read on it where it's like, you're going to raise this egg to be eaten by the frogs and make them full so they go away.
That's a very dark version of this very cute game, Ben.
Appeasement expansion, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, I do also want to mention that this game is going to eventually be on mobile as well. That is in the works currently. And I feel like this would be a prime thing for me personally to play on mobile because, like, I'm trying to play this game on my Steam Deck. Now, if I had my PC functioning and I was able to actually do other stuff on my PC and then have that in the background, that would be perfect. But since I'm playing on my Steam Deck, I'm not really, like, toggling between windows and stuff on that thing. So, because like I don't have like a whole OS and a whole bunch of other stuff installed on there. All I do is play Steam games. All I do is play Steam games. That's it. Yeah. So I don't have time to do all that. So,
right.
So a mobile version would be really great, in my opinion. So I am excited that they are going to be doing that as well. But also the creator wanted to mention that they will not have any microtransactions, even though this type of game format, you might imagine, would lend itself to that. But he feels that it is morally wrong and does not want to do that because it's terrible.
Nice.
Hard agree. Hard agree.
I like it when a developer takes a stand against dark patterns. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that's Yolk Heroes, a long time ago. And so definitely go check it out. It's very cute. And absolutely looking forward to playing more of it and see like what the next thing is. Because I've already gotten to the point where like my Yolk hero is a toddler and is now able to go on errands for people in town to make money to get equipment. And so my toddler is running around beating up barrels and buckets along the way. Like there's like little fights and it looks very much like a Pokemon fight, like an old Game Boy Pokemon fight screen. It's very cute. So it kind of has like the best of a lot of different things that people kind of, I feel like kind of dismiss that, virtual pets a lot. They're like, oh, well, like that only works if it's a Tamagotchi type of thing. But no, really, like some virtual pet sorts of things like a Pokemon or a Digimon or a Nintendogs or whatever. Those things are actually pretty cool. So
I feel like a lot of those kind of worked their way over, like a lot of the appeal of that worked its way into idle games, Yeah. And having one, I don't know, that is this kind of nostalgia bomb, but also sounds like it's, just cute and humanely put together. That seems appealing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's got the idle game mechanics. It has the JRPG elements. It has the virtual pet stuff in it. So you're getting a little bit of several different types of things. So May 20th. Definitely check it out on Steam and wishlist that thing.
Nice. Cool. So Shining Force 3 and Yolk Heroes. Anything else besides those?
No. Okay. I have been very, very busy, mostly in the streams that everybody else has been doing and doing other types of stuff related to family health concerns. So I haven't had time. But yes, I have played these two. They are both great.
Nice. I'm going to do mine. I only have two. One is new, but I'm not leading with that one. I am. I am going to lead with that one because it makes sense to lead with what's new because I can segue into Ben's off of my second one. This past weekend, I streamed a game called Pools.
Fools?
Pools.
Like the card?
Okay.
Pools, like pools. Like, oh, there's a pool there. I can swim in it. It's pools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a game where you walk around some pools.
Is this one of those liminal games?
Yes.
It's like a pool boy simulator.
Yeah, like a lot of checking pH. If you know what I mean. It's no. It is yes, Moxie. This is it's a liminal game. I have not really fucked around with any of those, primarily because every liminal game is a backrooms thing. And I view the backrooms as a pox on the horror tag on Steam. I also can't get interested in that. The faux SCP, like, all right, what if the commercial real estate crash was scary and you were lost in a big office building kind of thing? Doesn't necessarily work for me. This one, because I wanted to give a non backrooms liminal game a try. This one kind of spoke to me, primarily from looking at videos of it and just the idea of like, all right, like all of these weird pools and the things around them and like this architecture that is like kind of meant for recreation, but just kind of like stacked into and on top of itself and completely nonsensical. It's like there's probably like there's a cool atmosphere in that. I just said there's an aesthetic appeal to it. When I'm talking about a liminal game, what I mean is a game that is not outright scary. However, it plays in a horror space. People often talk about them in the same in the same sense of horror. Like this was a thing on like Twitter a while ago. Like there was a gimmick account that was actually pretty awful, called Liminal Spaces, and it has crossover with like cursed images or something. It was like empty rooms or like big derelict spaces that were on their own, just had a kind of a foreboding aura. Like, oh, if I was here, I would feel pretty unnerved. A liminal game is just about exploring those. This is entirely in a fantastical space. You start the game by falling down a broken ladder into a facility. No windows, no natural light, no anything. It's just hallways and large chambers and pools and slides. And you have to find your way out. There is a large amount of, just kind of dread and the fear of being lost. Like if being lost makes you anxious, like it sometimes can for me. Like that is a little bit of the space that it can that it can play in.
So is this? Sorry, go on.
No. Ask your question.
Oh, I was going to say, is this one of the takes on liminal spaces where there are monsters, or is this Sans Monster?
This is Sans Monster. And I basically said at the start of the stream, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to stream this the whole time. I just want to see if this is interesting enough because I don't know. I like having incident in my games. Call me weird.
I mean,
go ahead.
As the liminal genre as a whole kind of feels like House of Leavesy too, where it's like before anyone starts dying,
Yeah, there's also a little bit of that. Like, I am a House of Leaves purist insofar as, like, just a space that goes on forever is not necessarily scary in and of itself. It has to be inherently inhospitable. Like, in House of Leaves, yes, it is in a logical space, but also it is completely dark. It's freezing cold. The book goes into a great deal of detail about like what specifically is not there. Like, it is defined by specifically what it is not. So, like, it's literally just walls, floors, and ceilings. There are no outlets, no anything to make you think like this is a space that is meant to be inhabitable for you. A lot of the liminal ones with, a quote unquote House of Leaves appeal, they have like, stuff rearranges when you're not looking at it or whatever, which is fine. Also, that rearranging needs to be inherently antagonistic. Like the space needs to be fucking with you, but in a way that makes you feel like it doesn't care about you.
Right.
Yeah. But also, like, a lot of those liminal space things is like, this was a space that was designed for people at one point. It's just gone to seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like this, nobody could have plausibly lived in this thing, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
So at least watching the various liminal backrooms movies, like a lot of, at least from what I've seen, the best ones are just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Like you go down a playground slide and end up in like low Earth orbit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense because like isn't the back room supposed to be almost like a transitional space, like a non-space between spaces that just happens to look like an office building.
Totally.
Yeah. That's fine. That's just not what I see represented in a lot of the backroom stuff that I look at.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah. Totally.
This has a little bit of a I don't know. I see all these parallels because I don't know. I just consume these things roughly back to back. But like last month on Unfilmable, our show about horror movies, we talked about Skinamarink, which is a very slow, very experimental horror movie that also deals with a space becoming inhospitable, illogical, things like that. This, like that, does enough of it hits a balance of boring you, but providing just enough changes to make you interested to see where this is going to go. And after a certain point, you get really unsure of what's going to be waiting for you around a corner. There is a sense of menace. Like the game promises you, like it says, hey, there are no monsters in this. And that will make you think, oh, there's definitely monsters in this. No, it's literally just like, what if there was a big foreboding architectural study and it was a nonsensical space that happened to be about pools? And like there's like it's not completely just pools, right? Like there are there's furniture worked in, there's statuary kind of stuff going on. Like there is something trying to express itself here, and it is neat to just kind of like sit in that. I didn't stream it. I didn't play it under like the ideal circumstances. Like I was playing it and reacting to and goofing on it, which felt additive for me, but it did take away a little bit of the like, I am just sitting in this, but also like getting other people's observations about it in the chat. Like weirdly, it was one of my most watched streams of like recently. This game where fucking nothing happens. But go ahead.
So one interesting thing, unfortunately, I don't have the name off the top of my head, but I think this is a reference to a very specific artist. Because like, there's one of the liminal space art like photographers that his whole thing is he only does swimming pools.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah. Also, I like pools. Pool to me is associated with good time. Has been forever. Like, and also it's like a weirdly like it is simultaneously like a recreational space and a civic space. Like it is meant entirely for people, but to strip that context out of it is interesting.
See, to me, like pool, I hate pools. Like pools are for sharks.
I think oceans are for sharks, Moxie.
Yeah.
No. That's just the sharks trying to lull you into a false sense of security.
Yeah. There's a huge swath of the audience who's like, hey, this sounds like it fucking sucks, right? I went into it thinking like, all right, I'm gonna get a little bit out of this. I can switch to something else.
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, Ben. But I ended up getting a bit out of it. Am I rushing to do more liminal space stuff? No, I like Incident still, but this is pretty cool. Also, it just came out recently. Like I played it like either the day it came out or like a day after it came out. So this is relatively new and apparently doing quite well.
Is there a like win condition? Did you beat or complete the game?
Yes, there are 6 chapters to it. Like in each of the chapters, you are trying to find your way to the next biome, to the next floor or whatever. So that is your goal, is to navigate the space when there are really no cues around for you. It is not just walking. It's not just a walking simulator. You are trying to intuit like the direction and flow of this.
I feel like that's truly the like back of the bark pitch. Pools. It's not just walking, we promise.
I also think that the game looks really good. Like, I don't know if this is just like Unreal Engine 5, like materials, like, like if we restrain the possibility space to where it's just tile and water and some metal, like we can really polish this thing to a shine. I think it presents really well.
Yeah.
They've got a really good pool boy.
Whole team of them. I think this might actually be a solo developer. Tensori, I think is their name. Yeah. Any questions about pools? It's important that it's all caps.
No.
Cool. The other game that I played is I picked up Buckshot Roulette on Ben's recommendation. Ben talked about this last week and laid out the basics. This is a little bit like it is Inscription kinda in presentation, but instead of magic, it is Russian roulette with shotguns. You've got kind of a jigsaw-like figure on the other side of the table who, loads up a certain number of live rounds and a certain number of blanks. Although they're not blanks, because blanks still have gunpowder. They just don't. And you have to trade back and forth, taking shots, either at the other person or with yourself. I did this on stream, and Ben watched a little bit of it. I tried very hard to get by just by paying attention to, trying to keep track of how many live and how many dead shells were in the gun each time. I couldn't do it because I was constantly being distracted by chat, missing like what the ratio was at the start, and just I was just like looking because I want to be responsive, and like I couldn't concentrate, so I started taking notes, and even then it's a little much to keep track of when you work in the items. I think the items are what really make this sing. And Ben, the previous time, had you started or done the double or nothing mode?
I believe I had, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know how far I had gotten in that. I don't think I had done a double at that point, but I have now.
Okay. Yeah, I over the course of the stream, I went all the way up. I double or nothinged, and then I got through the second round, and they asked like, "Hey, do you want to double or nothing?" I was like, "No, I'm pretty close to wanting to be done streaming." And then cut it off. The additional items in that second round are really good.
Okay, which items are you referencing?
I'm specifically talking about the adrenaline, which lets you steal. Steal and use one of your opponent's items immediately, and the cell phone, which will tell you one little thing about the future regarding those shells, and it's just another thing to keep track of. Like, oh, the eighth shell is a blank. Like, okay, so when's the 8th one coming? Or when's the 5th one coming? Like, okay, so I need to make sure of that. Oh, is this going to change? I know this. Also, the opponent can use that and gain a little bit of information that helps it when it makes its little choice about it. Yeah. I think that those are really cool ideas.
Yeah. I think one of the more interesting choice spaces is when the opponent has a bunch of adrenalines, and like when you basically want to burn all your items and like just to win the round and get a restock, versus trying to play like more conservatively, let them like steal items or whatever and get you low, but still try and be in it, so that they don't gain like too much of an advantage at once and just win outright.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you said, like even keeping track if you're just playing by yourself can be difficult as far as like how many blanks and how many shots are left, especially because one of the items inverts the bullet. So then you need to make sure you're subtracting from the right column there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. I think my only criticism of it is very short, but it is also a $3 game, so it is, I think, appropriate in length for a $3 game.
I think it's exactly what it needs to be, and also I am looking forward to when they add multiplayer.
Agreed.
Which I think we'll give this a little bit more life in the future.
Yeah, because then it'll be much different playing a human than a computer, because the computer itself will make mistakes somewhat regularly. So,
but if it's but if it's somebody that you're talking to and you can psych them out.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother level, yeah. I hadn't thought about that, like voice chat, yeah.
Yeah, adding table talk, or just adding like just any sense of being at the table with them, or just like trying to distract each other or whatever. Like, I think that there's room for that. Like,
being able to say interesting when you use the magnifying glass.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the character in the game does. Your opponent in the game will say that. It's a really cute. It's it's a game about possibly shooting yourself in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah,
it's not cute. It's actually really gnarly, but you abstract away from it, and ultimately, like I just had to settle on a strategy, right? Which is like, okay, if the odds are even, I will just always fire away at the opponents.
Yeah.
If the odds are at all in my favor, I have to go at myself. And the bonus for going at yourself is if you fire and then it's a blank, you get another turn to fire back at them. Right?
Yeah. See, like that's the stuff that I'm like unclear on, and I don't think it's always like the same decision based on like what items are on the table. Yeah. Where it's like, say, I mean, if there's no items and it's like one shot, two blanks, it's like, it's probably better to shoot at them than yourself, because it just puts it to a half, and then that like they're in the situation where it's like they're not in a good spot really, where it's like a third of like losing a health. It seems bad, but
I constantly got burned by not paying attention to what item the opponent has. You can see like they're laid out in a grid in front of them, but just like specifically not paying attention to see if they had any inverters. I was like, okay, yeah, this has this many blanks, this many lives. I'm gonna hand this over. There are only blanks after this. It's good. And then they fire up an inverter, and suddenly they're taking chunks out of me.
Yeah. Yep. And then the setups to the rounds are like wildly different too, where there's some where it's like very simplistic, like 2 health bars on either side, like 1 bullet, 2 blanks is the setup. And there's some where it's like 4 live, 4 blanks, and then you get a spew of items, and it's like figure it out,
Yeah.
So I don't know how they go about like setting up those configurations of like what makes like for enticing gameplay there, but yeah, it's an interesting space at least.
Yeah. That's all that I had. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I only got a few things this week because I was kind of busy with the hosting. But I think the major one is that I want to talk about is I played more Balatro, but I played it multiplayer this time. And
what?
This is similar to what I've done with Slay the Spire in the past, is where you get a group of people around the computer, and then you launch up a run, and then you talk about what decisions you want to make.
It's Balatro by committee.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel like I learned a lot by doing that, but I think that's in part because the friends I was playing with are much more into the game than I am.
Okay.
And so like mostly like, so for example, like on the difficulty that I'm on right now, I think it's like the third from the highest. And so one of the things they do is they take away the monetary reward you get for winning the small blind, the smallest blind that you start with. Just as a brief reminder, Balatro is like the card, like poker trick type game that's similar to like Slay the Spire in the sense of the deck building component to it, but nothing else. Like you're doing cards with tricks instead of attacking people with cards. So that was something that I always skip and would just take the side benefit because I'm like, okay, if I'm not getting any money for it. But my friends were immediately like, no, you got to do that because the idea is you want to try and win with one hand, and then you get a dollar payout for every hand you have remaining. So you do actually get money with that still, even though it's like less. And like there's a really high advantage to seeing a store and getting like 2 options at jokers, because you could get a really good joker to build around. So they were like much more careful and much more surgical about like going about this. I think that they both play on like the highest level difficulty. So that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So and it went so far as being like, well, so the pros say that you should do this in this situation, but I think this could be a fun thing to do, like that sort of thing.
Wow.
It's like, oh man, next level. Yeah. These are like people who watch like Smash Brothers Melee too, so that's kind of their vibe.
Gotcha.
So is this like going to be the new Slay the Spire, where it's just going to be like every streamer is,
trying to do the max min or min max or whatever.
Yeah, and like, this is the new meta based on the, I don't know, whatever patch.
Yeah, and well, actually, and then that was something I learned as well. Is you can play like the it's like the beta branch or whatever of the game, where they're like doing like balancing tweaks and stuff. And so they were very excited about that being pushed alive, because that apparently has like a lot of like improvements to the game. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this has like longer legs, because I wasn't really convinced playing it myself, but after like seeing them talk about some of the decisions and stuff like that, it seems like it could have longer legs and could match something like Slay the Spire.
So that's one of the funny things for me for a lot of games, is there's a ton of games that I don't actually like that much, but I like talking with people about them.
Yeah. This could be one of those, because I feel that way. But I mean, I like it in both ways though.
Right.
Yeah, and in any case, even if it doesn't have this like deep level complex play, it is still a fun game that like sucks away time. So it's like perfect if you're like on the train or in a plane or something like that. It is very good for that. So
are they good in the house?
What? If you're trying to make time go by, that's the main factor.
I was trying to do a green eggs and ham thing. You said train and plane.
Time go by, but only when you need to fly.
If you don't want to cry.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
So I think I've played a little bit more as Dusk Falls than I did last week, but only a chapter or 2 more. So nothing too significant to say about that. I think I'm at a point where it's a defined kind of endpoint, and it's going to a new point in the game. Without saying too much about that, but that game is still, I've definitely warmed up to the aesthetic of that. And yeah, so if I feel a need to play that sort of choices matter type game, I'll probably jump back into that. So
that's the narrative kind of Quantic Dream-esque kind of thing, but with the kind of the collage kind of look to it.
Yeah, and I think it's backed by like Microsoft Studios, so like similar to was it Pentagram or whatever. It seems like it seems like there's enough production value there that it's like a pretty cleanly presented game. Yep.
Nice.
That's all I got.
That's all you got. Wow, we're going real fast here. Well, that's good, because Ben has a hard out, so we might be. I don't know. We might make it. Moxie, how about you?
Yeah. I actually don't have a whole heck of a lot.
Goth Prom and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Really busy.
I'm working my way through the story missions in Warframe.
Okay.
But that's kind of innately spoilery, so I don't know that there's a whole lot I could give. The only thing I do find kind of funny is like the narrative of this game. Like your verbs are ninja and kill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny that like this game, like the mission I just played, like you're helping someone who, someone like wrecked up their life, and someone wrecked someone else's life, and you're helping the victim, that sort of thing. And you get to the end, and it's just kind of funny in terms of how a lot of other things do it, and where in this, like, revenge is definitely the right answer. Like, you just kill the shit out of that guy.
It doesn't it doesn't try and like make you back off of that, like, oh gosh, before you set out for revenge, dig 2 graves so you're really good at digging graves when you get there.
Right, exactly. Like, no, you just murder the dude.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's kind of funny. I'm also interested to know they've added some like moral choice features to this, where, you know, periodically in like a cutscene it'll, you know, ask you to choose a dialogue option. The thing is, as far as I can tell, it like doesn't actually, there's like no consequences. It's straight up just, what dialogue do you want?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I find funny is that some of the dialogue choices just seem wildly inappropriate. Or not inappropriate, but, you know, there's things where it's like, you have to be like, you know, do the dialogue choice of like, oh, how were you able to be the one, the, you know, like the one person that, you know, overcame your inner demons and, you know, became the warrior of light or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like most of the options are like, acceptance, or like, you know, I learned the truth of, you know, emptiness, that sort of thing. And then one of them is just anger.
Yeah, no. There's always got to be at least one out-of-pocket option, you know?
Yeah, you know. You need the, L.A. Noire, just flip out on the dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really all I've got for Warframe. Probably more interesting is I gave a new game a try. It's Another Crab's Treasure.
Ah, shit! Crab souls!
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, no, just the idea of a cute Souls, like, I could maybe go in for that, but I don't know. And then I saw that the soul, what they call the souls, like the experience plus currency, is microplastics, and I was like, oh, they're on a whole other thing.
Nice.
That's really good.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, like, yeah, it's very much, it's what if a Souls game was very cute and very light? Like, I mean, like, physically, like, colorful, and, like, it's daytime, and, you know, you're just running around and, like, fighting crabs who are using bottle caps as helmets and shit like that.
Yeah. Good clean fun.
Right, exactly. The only thing is, like, I actually don't like the gameplay.
Oh. Okay.
It's definitely set up to be like ultra simplified Souls combat.
Right. And you're more in the line of like in the Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne stuff, right?
Right. And likewise, as far as I can tell, like, you never get a new weapon, you just have your one weapon.
Crabs is weapons.
Well, ironically enough, it is not a claw. You find a like fork,
okay,
that someone has discarded, and just proceed to poke people with it.
Okay.
The other thing is, like, their dodge. I don't know. It's really weird. Like, to me, the dodge almost feels more like a parry, in that it seems like you have to very explicitly time it, as opposed to, I don't know, use it kind of as a pseudo maneuvering tool, if that makes sense.
Okay, so like, is it that you do not like physically dodge a great distance, and
yeah,
also like
think,
the active window is narrow?
Yeah, I am not sure, honestly.
It just doesn't feel right to you. Like, something about the tuning is, yeah.
I think some of it that's weird is the enemies. Most of them have like super huge wind-ups.
Okay.
And it's a thing where, like, you have to dodge the window is such that you have to dodge not while they're winding up, but once they've actually released the attack or are about to release the attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that the windows are necessarily narrow so much as it has more of the parrying idea of like you have to figure out where in the attack animation to launch it.
Yeah, as opposed to like, hey, I'm committed to this move, and you know roughly where this where the effective range of this is going to be.
Right.
Dodge
exactly.
being a way to get out. So this is like dodge almost entirely in the sense of like I need to make sure my iframes are up during the during the critical portion of this animation. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that it's bad, and it seems like lots of people are enjoying this. I think it very well may just not be for me. The one kind of mechanic that seems kind of interesting is one of the main forms of equipment, quote unquote, you get is various types of shells, because you're a hermit crab.
Uh-huh.
And the only one I've gotten so far is a like old soda can that you use as a shell.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, so when you blocking is just you like
retreating,
scooting into the shell,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of cool. And the other thing that's interesting is the shells are explicitly consumable. Like when you block, they take damage and eventually run out of durability. And then they also apparently give you like special attacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like the soda can, you can like release like pressurized soda to like blast at someone.
Okay, that's cute. Yeah. I'm
I'm
saying cute, but what I actually mean is like it is very creative with a bunch of parts of the premise of like the setting that they have here.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is very cute, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to be more precise with what I say.
Yeah, totally.
The main character looks like Sebastian.
One feature I haven't messed with that I kind of want to just because it's so dumb is apparently one of the accessibility options is just give me a gun.
Yep. Oh, and it instantly kills.
Become a crab champion. Yeah.
I saw people talking about the accessibility stuff. Is like they're not all like instant win like that, but it is kind of made to be like, hey, this is a Souls-like. We want people to actually see this, so don't let that dissuade you. We have, there are crumple zones in this.
Right. The one thing I'm not sure of is where the game is going for its message, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
Because it kind of seems like they're going for some sort of like anarcho-primitivist thing.
Okay.
Because it's straight up like the whole premise of it is that a loan shark shows up and is like, hey, you have to pay your taxes or I'm taking your shell.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, who gave you the authority to collect taxes? Like, I didn't ask for you to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just this whole, thing about then like, oh, they're moving to the trash-based economy where, everything's microplastics.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't pay via,
crap dollars.
Just via kelp anymore. You've got to use this fiat currency.
Mm.
And so it's like this weird, like, is this just the world's most bizarre, like, libertarian wet dream, literally?
I mean, it's taking a stance that like, oh, for these creatures, the post-apocalypse is, living in what is cast off from human society and showing the deleterious effects of that is what it seems like.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems very, very interested in taxation being theft.
Hmm. That wouldn't be quite in line with this studio. This is Aggro Crab, and weirdly, this is the first crab-based game that they have made. But their first game, I think, was Going Under, and it was like that was specifically like it's a dungeon crawler going through the ruins of failed tech startups.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that's a great series. Like I loved Going Under, and that's one that very much bullseyed the tech startup culture, which I have some experience with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that actually makes me probably, if anything, more likely to play this just to see where they're going with things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy you talked about this. Because you played it, but also like people are. I'm glad to hear about it directly from somebody who has played it rather than just secondhand on social media.
Rather than from the people being like, when is Bonfireside Chats going to be covering this? Because you're obligated to cover every Souls game.
Yeah, people.
Right.
Yeah, it's, do Lies of Peas while you can. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Yeah, if it's good enough, it'll end up on WAF. Sorry, we can't. Lies of P specifically broke us. That and Baldur's Gate 3 was too good not to do a show about. But yeah, sweet. So you had Warframe. Sorry, I wrote this down as another Crab Souls. Just that common thing. But you just had Warframe and another Crab's Treasure.
Yep.
Cool.
To be fair, I do remember the crabs being the most horrible enemy in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
So.
And in Elden Ring, the lobsters are snipers.
Yeah.
They do that thing where they shoot bubbles from their claws when they snap them. Yeah.
Oh, they're okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know they went with that.
Yep.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer. Dennis very kindly posted the question before going to yesterday before leaving for the show. The question that Dennis asked is, this week we want to hear about your favorite interesting failures. What's a game that's objectively unsuccessful, but has at least one aspect that you hope other, or maybe more competent, games will learn from? Let's see. Jala, what does Alex say?
Alex says, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Take the combat mechanics of the club and entertaining if flawed game. Put a fairly campy story on top of it, and hope to God the charisma of Fiddy and G-Unit can carry the game for about 10 hours. Spoiler, it can't, but not because of the game part of things. Indeed, the fact that people played through the game enough that gendered slur took my motherfucking skull went viral for a time shows that the gameplay loop was enough for the story to get time to grow on people like a fungus. Now, if only someone could just take that core gameplay loop and attach a story and environments to it that were better.
It's funny how ridiculous that game is, while still also being just a third-person shooter set in the Middle East, right? Like, and
really?
Yeah, like the idea is that like terrorists stole 50 Cent's crystal or diamond encrusted skull, so so him and the G Unit had to go get it back. It's a ridiculous game, and 50 Cent seems to have a blood feud with helicopters specifically.
So after that, is the G Unit, is that some sort of like robot companion or something?
No, it's his group, like his collaborators, the G Unit. Yes. I don't know anything about this. All I know is that.
I'm surprised this hasn't gotten like an abject suffering or something.
Oh, it has. It was one of the earliest premium abject sufferings that we did.
Nice.
And yeah, the gendered language and stuff is just as bad as you would think. Like the cool thing that it did mechanically that I like is it was kind of unabashedly an arcade shooter. Insofar as like every little like move you could do, killing one thing and then another, like had its own kind of name for that trick. And like a point value attached to it. So it was like really kind of incentivizing you to keep up the action. Yeah, I agree with Alex here. Like that is probably the that's a good one. I would like to see that. I would like to see more arcadey shooters like that, let's say.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised like the indie community hasn't adopted arcadey shooters as like something it loves.
It's had a little bit like Ultra Kill has that to a degree. But yeah. Let's see. Moxie, what's Callum say?
Callum says, Final Fantasy 16, especially in comparison to Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Controlling one character in a character action game style for 40 plus hours simply stops being fun. Just adding more controllable characters makes the combat fun for much longer. Better area design also helps. With 16, that was Twin Road Trip, right?
No, that was 15.
That was 15.
Yeah.
Okay, what's 16?
16 is Game of Thrones with Kaiju.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
It's so funny how like every one of them can be summarized like that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big sword eco terrorist. Water sword. You know. Yeah. And I don't know. I fell off of 16 primarily because the combat just was really repetitive. I do not know how to find the energy to do that for 50 hours.
I mean, I can't believe that people complete like JRPGs in general. So
You know. Yeah, I was just playing more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth earlier today. So I know there's something about it.
Woo.
Yeah. Let's see. Ben, what does Jeremy say?
Jeremy says, Sundered is one of the best Metroidvania that I've ever played, and I've never heard anybody talk about.
It's in my backlog.
I am a huge advocate of Sundered. Like, yeah, it definitely one of the best Metroidvania games I've ever played. I'm trying to think here. Maybe the best platformer I've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is really, really good.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the things that worked against it is it's a game that, like Dark Souls, it is very important that at some point you realize that you can just run past enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All I remember is the pixel art being gorgeous in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
My answer for this is going to be kind of like a whole class of games. And it's a particular bugbear on WoW. But mystery games that do not have any deduction in them, like you do no detective work, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking of things like Norco. I'm thinking of things like the Sexy Brutale, Paradise Killer, games that people love. Like there are people who go to bat for all of those. Maybe not the Sexy Brutale, but like I don't know. Paradise Killer has shooters, right? But in none of those games are you doing anything other than just moving to what the next story beat is, and then it just happens to be by going to where dialogue is. There's a clue there, and there is nothing in the piecing together. There's no intuitive leap that you have to make. So, like, I think all of those, Sexy Brutale having a time loop, Paradise Killer has an amazing just like cosmology and aesthetic and just setup, and then Norco kind of the same. Like, Norco also has like narrative focus problems, but broadly, at least starting as a game about an evil oil company, we're working up against that.
That Norco is the one I just always remember as quite possibly the worst scenario for me starting that game ever.
What do you mean?
I started that game because I'm like, Man, I'm really bummed out about living in late stage capitalism deep south.
Oops.
And yeah, Norco was not the game to make you feel better about that.
Right. So that's my answer. A lot of those problems would be addressed if there was any kind of mystery solving at all. Jala, how about you?
So I can't really think of something where I'm like, well, okay, I played lots and lots of indie games that have cool ideas that are weird and everything, but I can't think of one offhand. So I'm going to default to one of my usuals and say, Azure Dreams
Yeah.
was an evolutionary dead end of a weirdo game, and I would like to see something else kind of like that is not the spiritual successor, which is apparently pretty blah, that was made afterwards, but like actually like something in the same spirit, same vein as that.
Yeah.
Because that one was like the weird, you raise the little critters, you go into the roguelike dungeon to do tactical battles and stuff like that, where it's turn-based tactical combat. But then there's also like a weird town building element and a dating sim element. Like it's just kind of throwing everything in there. And it was a lot of fun. And I love that game. And I wish that some other kind of mashup like that would come along as well.
Yeah.
Man, I need to
Surely
see,
someone else loves that game too.
is Azure Dreams, like, has that been re-released or anything? Because
No.
that was the number one game that, like, I don't know, I feel like every kid has that game that they see every time they go to, like, GameStop and want to get but never do.
Yeah.
No, it never has been re-released on anything, so...
That's unfortunate.
Moxie, how about you?
So I feel like I'm being like set up for this, but
Yeah, because
the-
Dennis picked the Matrix Online as the post image.
right, and that is a game I would argue does not simply have one thing that does well, but I would say has at least two. One, the whole idea of like hiring actors to role play with the players and interact with people and stuff like that. That's I don't know. That's, I think, just a really clever idea that I would love to see more games introduce. But the other thing is, this game actually had some of the best martial arts animation of any game I've ever played. And, had a really in-depth system where it would actually, for each of the styles you could learn in the game, it would have a couple of moves, associated with that style, and then would basically remix them on the fly in order to develop like your combo that you get animated doing. The other thing is just like I really appreciated them having a lot of like Matrix elements. Like I love the fact that during character creation, you start out as a normal person and put in your first and last name. And the sole reason for that is just so the agents can do the whole, Mr. Such and Such.
Yeah. Huh.
So that's a game I think actually was a pretty good MMO.
Yeah. Sweet. I don't have anything to add. Also, for Ben's time limit, we need to get to Ben. Ben, how about you?
I think I mentioned this game before, and it's maybe an answer with an asterisk, but Star Wars The Clone Wars had a really sweet multiplayer game on it. The game by itself was kind of lowly reviewed, but basically that multiplayer game is what turned into probably League of Legends, but maybe, from my point of view, not as fun. So that is something that I would like to see readapted or redone.
Is that the GameCube one?
I forget if it was in all versions or just like the Xbox version or just the PlayStation version, but it's the one where you're in like a little tank and you're on a planet and there's two different types of vehicle types you could be in. And there's two different bases and a bunch of outposts in between them. And like as you take over outposts, you'll build turrets at them, and then you have to attack the other ones, and then take over bases and like slowly turn the tide of battle.
Huh.
Wow, I've never even heard of this.
Yeah. That was during a time where they were just like releasing a bunch of stuff. There was like Star Wars Bounty Hunters and Republic Commando and stuff.
It should be noted that that's from Pandemic Studios, which was before they did good at making games.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. Well, good answer. And good question, Dennis, if you're out there. Thank you so much, everybody.
That's ominous.
Is that a death cab for cutie concerts?
Not wherever you are, but if you're out there.
and if he's got to, if they need to send him back, it is also a postal service concert. Thank you for participating. If you want to throw in your answers in future ones, go to the Duckfeed community group on Facebook and watch the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Ben, do you got to go?
Yeah, I'll duck out. I don't want to fasten the story part of the show, so
cool.
Yeah,
cool. Well, we will see you later. The end boss. Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are going on in the world of video games and how we feel about them. Let's see. Jala, yours is too good not to start with.
So y'all know that I'm not a Stardew Valley individual. However, this is pretty cool. There is going to be a Stardew Valley mod that will add Astarion and Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3 to it. And the project was shared over the weekend. There was a map that was called Baldur's Village that was shared. It's basically got Baldur's Gate 3 residents in there. So they are apparently working on Astarion, Shadowheart, Gale, and Halsin, but more characters are going to come soon. And you will actually also be able to date Astarion with him having his own unique romance plot.
Okay.
So I don't know neither Stardew Valley nor Baldur's Gate 3. Are any of these the muscular red lady?
I was going to say, this is Karlak Erasure.
Yeah, Karlak has not, they are planning to do other folks as well, but here's the thing, the team is trying to release it for free on Nexus, with the first bit of content being available in August at the year anniversary of Baldur's Gate 3. So they're in process on it, so they haven't gotten there. They can't leave Karlak out.
They have to pick an order. They have to pick an order in which to do it. And
they apparently were prioritized who has the most punchable face.
It's just, I don't... they had to pick an order. I just really resent that I will not be able to chop wood with my wife, Karlak. For fuck's sake. So I can understand why it's happening, but I can still be upset about it. But this is a cool idea, and I am actually shocked that it hasn't happened already.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that what's that? There's that 2D fighting game engine that just has every character.
Oh yeah, the salty Mugen or whatever. Yeah,
I'm surprised that Stardew Valley dating isn't just that.
I mean, there are a lot of mods. There are a lot of mods that add in dateable stuff, dateable people. Maybe dateable stuff too. It's my husband, the chair. I don't know. But I like this. This is this is good, in favor of it. I am holding this story at an arm's distance, but at an Xbox event, the team behind the Jackbox Party Pack games, they have announced not the next main entry in the Jackbox Party Pack series, but kind of a specialized one, responding to some fan demands, which is, oh god, I lost the window with this because I had to look up something else. Where are you? They're making like a risque version of Jackbox.
Apparently, they've never been in any of our Jackbox games.
I mean,
Way ahead of them.
Yeah. So those are those are risque. Okay, it's the Jackbox Naughty Pack is what this is. The Duckfeed nights get risque just because we attract people who are fine doing a little bit of ribald humor.
I mean, duck feeders are degenerates. We can just say it.
I'm not going to go that far, but normally Jackbox is only as like filthy or provocative as the people make it. It's going to be 3 games, and we do not know what 3 games they are, but 3 games that are like designed to be provocative like that. I am not going to make a guarantee that I will feature these on a stream because, our use case is playing Jackbox games with, I'm sorry to say this, strangers, right? And what I don't want to do is get on stream and start up an activity where somebody I don't know can sexually harass somebody that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, also like we don't age check people because that's not really a thing we could do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So also I don't know like what group of friends is going to, I don't know. Maybe this isn't like directing all the sexy stuff to each other or whatever. Like maybe it's just like, the prompts are a little bit more ribald or whatever. But like until I get confirmation that that's not going to happen, I can't feel safe doing that. So we'll see. There's going to be more information coming out over the summer. Any thoughts on this? Am I overreacting to a possibility here?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll see though. Moxie, what do you have?
I've got nothing.
That's a spirit.
That's that is one of the many services I offer to this podcast is slacking off.
That's fine. No, it's fine. This episode wasn't as short as I thought it would be, given how the banter and the grind went. So we're doing okay. We're still providing people with value. If that's the case, I think we got to button up.
Buttons.
The credits.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of The Level. We're coming up on 500. There'll be a plan around that. That'll be fun. That just won't be an episode. I want to double check with folks involved about the scheduling on it. But keep your ear to the ground. Otherwise, you can support the show by doing all of the usual things. You can leave a rating or review. You can tell your friends, subscribe, support on Patreon. All of that is welcome, encouraged, and we're grateful for it. Jala, what's happening over at Jala's place?
Yeah, so the last episode that released was actually the 2-year anniversary episode. So yay!
I can't believe it's been 2 years. Wow.
I know. And so that episode is actually just kind of like a primer of what the show is, kind of like going back and looking at all the different topics in media that were discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like
the clip episode in a TV show.
Something like that, I guess.
Except with all of the work entailed in pulling clips.
Right. So, just kind of like talking about how the show's evolved over time and, just like where it's been and where it's going and this, that, and the other. And then the next episode that will be dropping on May the 10th, so that'll be next week as of the time this episode drops, is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which is a comic, a very cool comic. And I discussed that with Case Aiken of the Men of Steel and Another Past podcast. So
that actually sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on 2 years.
Yeah, I know. It's just been, it's funny because it's like, it's been 2 whole years. Also, man, it feels like it's been 5,000 years.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot's been going on for sure. So
right.
Time is an illusion.
Yes.
Oh man, but you feel every second of it. Well, where can people find that?
They can find that at jalachon.place.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. I've been Kole. You can find me on Twitter at Kole Ross. Just at Kole Ross. Not on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Sorry, I switched over. Yes, at Blue Sky.
I've been Moxie.
And I'm Jala-chan in all the places that I may be found.
And stick around for some titles.
I wrote down a few.
Okay, I want to hear the ones you wrote down.
Okay, pools are for sharks.
Okay.
I mean, that's just a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Crabs is weapons.
Okay. All right.
And then blood feud with helicopters. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Those have title heat. Moxie, did you have anything?
I did not. Sorry, I'm still very much in the recovery phase.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have anything. So Jala, yours is going, I mean, did you express your preference? Blood feud with helicopters. Should it be just blood feud with helicopters or a blood feud with helicopters?
At your discretion.
Okay. Sweet. Well, it is decided.